Welcome to a new experiment here on Cheap and Cheerful. I'm calling it Kickstarter Report Card. I've backed a few games and have at least one or two more backed, I believe, at the time. And I thought it might be interesting to do sort of a post-mortem after the campaigns have finished up and the rewards have been delivered. Just take a look at how various developers did and projects turned out. Okay, so I'm going to start out with SUPERHOT. This is a game developed by a Polish company, Team SUPERHOT. No spoilers here, just endless. So just the facts on their campaign. So they launched their campaign in June of 2014. They're asking for $100,000, ended up making $250,000, 250% of their original goal. The estimated delivery on just the digital copy was a year later, June 2015. The actual delivery date on that was February 2016, 8 months late, but honestly that's not too bad. I'll get into that a little bit later. The reward level to get just the digital copy of the game was $14 US, and that technically got you two copies of the game, a Steam code and a DRM-free GOG code. The retail version at release was $25 for just a Steam key or just a GOG key. So what is SUPERHOT? Well, as you can see, it's a first-person shooter of sorts, but clearly there's a bit of a twist there. If you haven't noticed, it's that time is only really moving when I move or perform an action. You also have one-hit kills, both on the enemies and you, except for punches. You can throw any of the dark-colored objects. And the levels, well, I'm playing endless right here, the actual plot story levels are relatively short if you perform them quickly, and it's sort of like puzzles. That's what the odd time mechanic does for this, is it takes it from a pure twitch reaction precision game. You still have to have good precision, but it's much more a puzzle, a strategy, tactical thing, making sure you're in the right position, that you don't leave yourself exposed without a weapon or with your back to an enemy, because while time is very, very slow while you're not moving, it does move, so you can't just stand there forever. And looking around slightly accelerates time. You still have to have that precision, but just in a slightly different way. It's very, very interesting. And honestly, as their tagline says, one of the most innovative shooters in recent history. The style is obviously very minimalist with a limited palette. You see the background is pretty much all whites or light grays, and then interactable objects and weapons are black. The enemies are bright red. It draws your attention to the important things. There's also this kind of crystalline sort of thing that looks really awesome in slow motion when an enemy explodes. The plot, it's meta and kind of self-aware to the gaming industry, but it's also fairly understandable. They're not trying to throw something way over your head here. Definitely unique and fresh, especially for a first-person shooter. Now, of course, this would not be cheap and cheerful if we didn't talk a little bit about value. Time-wise, the main missions fall honestly right on that portal zone, 3-4 hours, depending on how skilled you are and how quick you move. But that's just the plot, and there's probably, I don't even know how much more game after that. There's challenges that limit you in some way, katana only, or no weapon pickups, or it plays like the tech demonstrator they built back before the Kickstarter, and you play all of the plot levels with those restrictions. There's speedrunning challenges, and then there's a ton of endless modes as well, where you just try and survive as long as possible as waves upon waves of enemies come through. It's a really great structure for time value, because people that just want to experience the plot, that want to experience the mechanic, can get in, get out. Honestly, just that is so much fun and probably worth the money. But then for those that really want to dig in and really hone their skill in the mechanic, there's just a ton to do. So, Kickstarter, honestly, I think they are one of the better games that I've backed. Obviously, I haven't talked about any of the others yet, but we'll see if this is something I end up doing more of. Got good cost value, $14 compared to $25 for essentially two copies of the game. It's a fine value on your money. I honestly would be happy paying the full price. But the game also expanded a lot from what they initially proposed. And that gets into why I said I was okay with the 8-month delay. They were funded at 250%, and I feel like they gave at least 250% more than the initial Kickstarter scope for the project. So that's fine. And then if you look at the delay, they actually did it in only 166%. So just statistically there, they did more in less time than the scope creep you would have expected. So scope creep is always an issue with these gaming projects when they have stretched goals that add content. I mean, just look at Star Citizen. It's ridiculous. I think a big reason they were successful is the idea for the game came out of a 7-day FPS challenge. And then when that got some interest, they developed a web-based tech demo, I believe, like 3 levels that got a lot of interest, got some play on some decently sized YouTube channels, and then they launched the Kickstarter. So they had a lot of momentum going in. They had something physical, real to show that people, players, backers could get their hands on beforehand. And that's always really helpful than just trying to pitch concepts and art. Just in general, the Kickstarter campaign seemed pretty well run. They were consistent with their updates, and all the updates always contained really pretty screenshots, GIFs to keep people excited, and they were pretty clear and honest about their progress. In general, my philosophy tends to be back and forget on these sort of things. I realize Kickstarter's not a retail market, so I give my money to a project that I want to see completed, and that I tend to just peruse updates. I don't dig for information. I hardly even play pre-release stuff that they send out because I really am looking for that final thing. So I may not be the best person to reflect on that part of the campaign, but what I did see was good. I did a quick browse through the comments section after the campaign had ended just to see what people are saying. It appears that some people may have had issues with their keys. I didn't, so I can't really comment on that. I'm sure that eventually they'll address that issue. When you're talking about this many people with this many digital deliveries, there's bound to be some issues. So hopefully they get that worked out. Overall, I was really happy with the campaign, at least at my level of involvement, which honestly was minimal. Obviously, it's better if they can meet their estimate delivery times, but an 8-month delay is not too shabby for a small team building their first game together. So that's a little preview of SUPERHOT and how their Kickstarter campaign went and the results. Let me know if there's any value in this format for you guys, or if there's something else you would like to see here or see more of. I have a few more games that are already out that I could go back and cover as well. As always, thanks for watching, and be sure to check out more over at the Cheap and Cheerful Gaming channel.